I don't know where he was going. I thought maybe it was the liquor or the powder. We don't know which. But I saw this movie, Die Hard, tonight, and I said, this man reminds me of somebody else. And then I remember, oh, yeah, who was that one who came on the show when we were talking about Tomorrow Never Dies, talking crazy like he was off that white? It was Stephen Pena. And I said, this is Stephen Pena. If I'm going to recast anybody, it would be this guy as Stephen Pena, specifically in last week's episode when he was talking real crazy and spicy. So those are my recasts. Stephen Pena, you see, shout out to you. You thought I would be a James Bond villain. Well, I think you would be this guy in Die Hard.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Unpopular Review. And hey, normally there is a guy here who's like in a wheelchair, kind of bald, and he's like, hey, hey, synopsis, and I'm going to introduce this person. He tells a little smarmy joke. But I said, I'm going to do it today because I want to give him that night off because it's his birthday. But I also wanted to present him with his birthday present from Chris. He, in pre-production, he said he wanted me to stop saying something that I can't say unless he stops breathing, right? Then maybe I'll give him 30 seconds. But in the meantime, I have a birthday present from Excellence to you, James. Happy birthday.
Ladies and gentlemen, today we are here to say happy birthday to James Best, a man who has weathered every storm he's been in, an intellectual savior who put together a band of mutants only to fall asleep. However, we forgive him because as a great friend that only James Best has been, he has forced us to do things such as watch The Witch. Yet, in his true heroic form, he still finds time to take care of his goddaughter, his friend's daughter, and still makes him watch The Witch. Yet there's one person he does not make watch that movie. Look at him being devoted son. And he stands there and he talks to certain people to make them watch The Witch. James is multi-talented as he could do multiple poses in multiple pictures with multiple people while watching The Witch. James Best, happy birthday to you.
Yes, Chris is a stand-up comedian, and that was actually very, very good. That was very, very funny. I wish that there was a private that was also private so that my pictures couldn't be used without my knowledge. But that was funny, so I'll let it slide this time. Well done, Chris. I've known him for quite some time, since the camps, since we met in Miami, since we met in DC. Anyway, that's an old joke. You don't get it. I start with 2 quotes for this movie. My second pick and my birthday week. My co-hosts are so nice. They're so lovely to me. They let me pick 2 different movies, also because they skipped out on the movie earlier in the month. So they let me get 2 movies. Anyway, they'll make me pay for it later. At least Chrissy will, I know that for sure. To flee is life, to linger death, and be me a little. Tonight we review Let the Right One In. Not Let Me In, Let the Right One In. Thank you, Ruben, sir. And let me bring in our co-host tonight. I'm going to start just as they appear on my screen. E Boogie, how are you doing, miss?
Sorry, I had a little technical difficulty. I'm doing all right. Happy birthday, sir.
Thank you, thank you. It is not every day you turn 25, and I'm so delighted to be alive and on this planet.
You 25. Let's
move on. Now, See the Superior is coming in next. I've made her suffer through this, I don't know, is this chapter 15 of Halloween Horror Nights?
It's up there. I don't know which one it is, but you've definitely decided to extend our theme month from October.
There will be more. There will be more.
Yes.
Christopher Harris coming in there. Happy birthday, Charles. He knows my real name. That's my government he's using. How dare you? And here we have the man who, he's very political, as you know, or may not know, but he's very political. He's friends with some of the biggest names, Mitch McConnell. But he skipped an election in his borough just to be here to celebrate my life. That is Black love. And tonight he calls himself Puppy Blood Love. So how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic.
Did I get all the information correct?
Yes, you did. Yes, you certainly did. And I appreciate you. And, I hope that everybody goes out there and practices their civic duty. Okay, go out and watch.
And please make sure they're giving you tangibles, not just dances. enough about that.
Mhm.
Enough about that.
Mhm.
'Cause take it from me, the dancers ain't gonna help you. They're not gonna help you. And the executive consultant, the man behind memes, the man with his own segment intro, the man who pilfers the pictures and then makes fun of my poses. And salute to that one in Hawaii because it was hot as hell. It looked like the sun had cooked me and I was in pure shadow.
You know what? I know exactly how you feel because on Tuesday I was forced to watch a movie called The Witch,
The Witch.
and
Yeah,
you know what? I felt like I was in pure hell, and I was cooking too. You know, I think I actually brought a clip from it. No, go ahead, go ahead.
Chris, how did you like the ending of The Witch? In case anybody missed that episode.
Well, if you need to go back and go to it, just go ahead and go. But never mind. That's too graphic. Hey, just go ahead and talk about Let the Right One In. How about that?
All right, here's the synopsis for this. And then again, I open up the floor because, as you know, I have a bunch of notes. But this is the coming of age story of a 12-year-old living in 1981 Sweden. He's bullied and without friends. However, his life starts down a different path when a new tenant and their daughter move in next door. And that is a very, very basic synopsis for this movie because it is multifaceted, multi-layered, and I don't want to spoil too much. But after this point, we're going to go there and we will spoil it. So if you haven't seen this movie and you care to watch it unspoiled, tune out, but just leave it on. Just turn down the volume because we want those views. Now, as I said, I open up the floor to anybody who would like to take it because, as you know, I have a lot to say and very few time to do it. But if anybody would like to go first, I give them the floor. If not, I will go.
Okay, so full disclosure, I was very tired when I watched this movie. So staying awake was a little difficult because I have not had to read so much in a long time. With that being said, it wasn't bad. It was definitely entertaining. I wish that the main characters were older because the whole thing was just, it felt a little pedophilic to me because they were 12 and like they were like falling in love type of thing. Like and mind you, like it was cute, it was puppy love. The little kid was falling in love with the little vampire, but then like how old was she really? You know what I mean? Like
supposed to be over 200. Just to give you knowledge.
Yeah. So I mean, they kind of make it seem like she's stuck as a 12-year-old forever. They were 12 and like they were like, okay, there's the echo. Nice. But it wasn't bad. I mean, you definitely have to really, really pay attention. I really like the part where the lady that was becoming a vampire just blew up. Like that was just gangster the way she killed herself. Like, that was just ridiculous. She was like, "Hey, why don't you let the shades out?" Okay. Yeah, that shit was crazy. I'm dying, but I get it. She's a vampire and she's burning up. The only thing that I didn't get about that is that how come the little girl doesn't get burnt up when the sun is out? She's not always running from the sun. So that was a little weird to me, because I felt like that part of it was at least inconsistent. But for the most part, it was pretty entertaining. I wish I could have seen it in English and not had to read so much.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, like I loved how the little boy, just started getting it. Over time, he started getting a little bit more confident, especially after he hit that little boy with the stick and he made his ear bleed. I was like, go ahead, man. Go ahead. Go ahead. Good for you, man. Good for you. Because he was just way too SAWFT. And so he definitely needed that. And the fact the little girl put that little battery behind his back, I was like, go ahead. Go ahead. But one thing that I would like a little bit more explanation on is the whole thing about people coming in. Like if she's not allowed to, like if you don't say come and she walks in the room, then all of a sudden she just starts bleeding. That I was like, all right, what's that about? You know what I mean?
That's just vampire lore, like an old school vampire. They can't come in unless they're invited.
Yeah, like that's part of it I knew. I mean, I always knew about the blowing up and the catching on fire with the sun and all of that, but that part of it, I know, probably because I wasn't a fan of Twilight,
Chrissy has that piece loaded. The minute
Shots
you said he was
fired.
200 years old, she started to say, and remember what you said. I knew. And remember what I said, Chrissy, because I'm going to say the same thing here. So remember
Yeah,
that.
keep that same energy talking about Edward. Okay.
Yeah,
I'm glad we're on the same page.
I am. It's literally in my notes.
Okay.
Oh, okay. I didn't watch that movie, so I figured one of y'all were gonna bring that up. So all right, but yeah, I mean, it was all right. It was cool.
Okay. Anybody? I don't know. Chrissy is amped up talking about a battery in the back. But I will say this: I don't remember a scene where Ellie is out in the daylight. So I'm confused when you said she was out in the sunlight.
Well, I mean,
I'm
I'm sorry. There was nothing like specific, like showing, but you could see that she was out and about. You could see that she jumped out the window. Like you could see that, that it was at some point like the sun had hit her. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't blatant like with the other lady, but there was a ton of parts where she was outside. You know what I mean? It wasn't like right shining in her face. So I don't know what the mechanics are behind that. Because other vampire shit I've seen is just a little bit of ambient light. Yeah, that's it. They have to be in like a dark room. But I guess that those points weren't really stressed that much, because the main thing in this movie was just the love behind. I mean, I feel like the main point of this movie was just like, oh, okay, she let him in. She's not letting anybody else in because she's a vampire and, she's going to kill everybody. But this is the guy that she's going to let in. And, man, he's definitely got the right girl because she's ready to off people. Just if anybody messes with him, like, what? That pool scene? What? But then the movie just ends and cuts out of nowhere with the kid in the train. Like, come on.
Let's cut to Chris because that's what I'm sure.
And I was thinking about Chris when I seen that. I was like, all right, now here's another one. Anyway, before I long-winded, I'm done.
Very nice. I'll go next.
Or I'm sorry, E-Boogie, did you want to say something to Vic?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say maybe you're talking about the one scene where the guy is prying open the taped off window. For a split second, I thought at least we'd see like some singeing or something, but that never happened. And even, so they there was a little play there because at some point he's walking into the bathroom, he's already pried open the covering over the door adjacent from the bathroom door, and he's kind of blocking it as he pulls the covers back. But then he pries this open. I'm just like, there should be something happening, some sort of burning, even like the hint of light that might have gotten Pat through should have gotten her, but it didn't. But I mean, I'm okay with that.
But nothing happened to her at all. You know what I mean? Like if this whole thing, like mind you, if that scene never had happened to the other lady, I don't think it would have mattered. It was just I think it was for shock value above all else, and it was definitely effective. Don't get me wrong, but like keep it consistent. That was on my thing.
Okay.
I'm surprised he didn't mention the cats.
Oh, the cats were the cats. Yo, where did these cats get so demented? What happened to these cats? How is this possible? How is that? I've never seen a cat do that shrieking shit that you see like for Halloween, like the things for Halloween. I've never seen a cat do that in real life. That was nuts. Like how? Please, somebody explain this cat thing.
I was interested
because
in
animals sense. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Well, animals in lore, they can sense when somebody is off, somebody is demonic, somebody is otherworldly, if they are vampire or werewolf or whatever like that. So that's why you notice when they're at the candy shop or whatever, and Oscar offers her like whatever sweet that was. There's a cat in the window that's hissed at her. And she walked away from it because the cat's reaction was so over the top that anybody would see like what is going on, and it would draw attention to her. The same way the cats did when they sensed Virginia when she had been infected. even though she didn't know exactly what she was, the cats sensed that something was off with her, and so their like primal instinct was coming out in them. Hence, why they had that iconic Halloween with the arched back, and the hair on end and everything like that.
That was great. That was
E-Boogie, did you want to jump in here next? Chrissy says she's gonna come in.
I'll jump in next. Yeah, the cats. Whoa. The fact that they went CGI with that scene, it was a good decision. It really was my nightmare living. Cats are terrifying creatures. Like, they're gorgeous, and sure, you want to pet them or whatever, but cats are terrifying. And the fact that so many cats lived there and they just pounced like that and held on and gripped, it just was so terrifying. And I imagine she was terrified with that happening. I mean, she could feel something was happening to her as she was transitioning, but it was really scary with those cats because, oh my God. And how did she not attack anybody in the EMT on the way to the hospital? I have no idea. Like, when does the bloodlust really come in? Because I was kind of waiting for that the whole time.
I think she had it when she woke up because she faced her own blood, but she wasn't starving like Ellie was. Because we can hear literally her stomach is churning, and they say the smell is off, and so we see that she was literally starving, quote unquote, to death, and that's why she gave in and she got Jaka. But
she wanted to die. She wanted to die.
Exactly.
I think she knew exactly what would happen to her when he opened the blinds. I don't think he understood, but he just did what he was asked. But he saw the cat thing, so that should have put something off in his mind about her. Their whole side story to the side. The first guy that Ellie kind of was living with, that was presumed to be her father initially, their relationship, I'm really interested to get, I wish that they kind of opened up their relationship dynamic more, but with the tidbits that we got, it was like, it felt very abusive between the two. And on one hand, it felt abusive from her because she's starving. He can't execute a kill cleanly for her without getting caught. And I'm kind of wondering how all these years they've been doing this and suddenly he's getting so sloppy. I mean, he's getting older, so maybe that's part of it. But like, even that first kill, which they went straight in for the kills, and I thought that was kind of refreshing, even with just showing the dead bodies after they've been killed, obviously. That kind of stuff is the real fact, is like, it bears weight in the creep out factor for this movie. It's not so much the sound effects of like gurgling blood or whatever, or the actual physical killing. The dead bodies after the fact, like, they feel so disturbing because it's like they look real, and it's like those people's souls have left their body officially. Like, those people are dead. The guy they pulled out of the river, the frozen river pond, and with his limbs just hanging out, that was so good, so effective, creeped me out. I did not even want to watch this movie because I knew it was going to take it there, being one of those, I don't know, is it Swiss? Yeah, being in that, coming from that realm of filmmaking, I imagine it was going to be kind of rough in that context, but it was really good. They sold me. The kind of weird transitions of Ellie as she was going from like hyper beast to back to child, that was a little weird, but even with that, I got it. It felt artistic, but it felt also like I get what they were trying to convey there. Initially, though, I did think it was like her just glamoring our main character, which was disturbing and did feel a little pedophiliac in nature. But then I also thought, like, if she actually was bitten at 12 and stayed 12 forever, I wonder, like, how can we quantify or qualify like her true age? because if her mindset is a continuation of like a 12-year-old's processing, but she just has this vast amount of experiences, like it's hard for me to kind of quantify what her age really is. But I can say this, in her initial prisoners dynamic, it was weird. Like I felt like it was her abusive, and then at some point he was yelling, and I just didn't know what it was. It was very codependent, and this movie was just like, oh, it felt like what's the word? It just felt like that their relationship was a foreshadowing of what our main character will become eventually. And that was creepy, the creepiest part of all. And this was pretty good. Good pick, James.
Thank you. Krista, you want to jump in here?
Sure. I'd like to open up with a little story, guys. So me and James spoke about this movie before, and I told him years ago, I've seen this movie with my cousin. She was really into like foreign films and stuff at the time. And a lot of this movie was familiar to me. But I remember when I first watched it, I was so adamant about watching Peter Pan that I was like, look, let's cut this off. Let's watch Peter Pan, because that was like one of the newer films at the time. It had Jeremy Sumpter in it. And I was just like, yeah, let's watch this instead. But I've seen this movie before, but probably about the first half of it, because I had no idea how extended. I don't know if I watched the extended cut, because I was there for hours trying to get through this movie. It was a very long film. But there was a couple things that I noticed in rewatching it. And plus from the discussion that me and James had before, like a couple months ago, I forget when we had, I think it was when we did the Vampire, or the interview with the Vampire, we began talking about this movie. And this whole time, I was under the assumption that Ellie was, born female, but she was actually a male. She was born male. And I don't know if it was by force or by choice that she transitioned into female, but there was one clip in the movie that I was like, what's going on? It was borderline a little, I won't say the word, but they showed some body parts that you usually wouldn't notice or see or want to see on a child. But I get why it was important to show that, because of what it revealed. I don't want to say too much for fear of being, canceled on YouTube or anything like that. And I don't know how I missed it the first time. Maybe we cut the movie off by that time, but yeah, it became clear that, okay, this is not a born female. This is someone who's female by choice or by force, right? And I thought it was interesting that they told that story in the time period that it came out, because this movie came out in the early 2000s. So it wasn't really as accepted as it is now. Like, certain LGBTQ members or whatever, they weren't as accepted then. And it was really refreshing to see that, okay, there was some kind of representation there, even if it's small, it was there. But I will say the relationship between Ellie and the older guy, I thought it was weird, because the whole time watching this movie, I'm thinking, what is the benefit for this man? Like, what is he getting at? Was he just, because I understand what Ellie's getting out of it. She's getting, someone to, get her blood and her food. But what was his purpose there? Like, why was he with this child? And my theory is that he was an Oscar before. Like, he maybe, because again, Ellie doesn't age. And maybe they developed this friendship, and through the years, he grew older. She didn't, obviously. And there were a couple scenes where it almost seemed very intimate between the two. Like, he asked her specifically, hey, don't go see Oscar tonight. Like, he was almost jealous or something. And there was a scene where she touched his face, and it was just very intimate in a way that made me think that, okay, maybe they had some type of relationship similar to that of Oscar and her when he was younger. Couple parallels about this movie. The very final scene reminded me very much of Demon Slayer. I don't know if you guys are in anime. I know Chris isn't. But the sister in the Demon Slayer, she's always like in this like backpack, and even when they're on the train, he's got to keep her in the backpack, keep her away from things. And that reminded me of that. But since we are not doing recasted for this film, right, I'm going to add it in here because this is, I'll tell you guys another story. Back in the day, I used to beg my mother to go see like different films. Like she wasn't too much into Halloween. She didn't like scary stuff. She didn't let us go watch it. But I begged her to go see this one specific film. And I'm thinking, hey, did this movie, when I was looking at this little boy and Ellie, all I could see was this right here, the little vampire. It's literally the same film, just like aged up, right? I'm like, the parallels are crazy. Like for one, okay, the little blonde little boy in, you know, Europe, he's being bullied. He's, you know, having some issues with his home life or whatever. In comes this brown-haired little vampire to save the day from bullies and everything else. And I was like, dang, did they just copy and paste from Let the Right One In? But then I had to look up, when did this movie come out? It's hard to see here, but Let the Right One In came out in 2008. And it was based on a book that came out in 2004. And The Little Vampire came out all the way in 2000. So this is clearly some plagiarism going on. I don't know what the heck. And I'm going to stand up for this movie because I love this movie as a child. And I remember going to see it at the Greenbelt movie theater, not the one that's still around, but like the old one where it was like closer to like that Fake Me Out Chuck E. Cheese. And I just love the movie. So this is clearly a knockoff of The Little Vampire. Just wanted to say that. But, you know, I'll let someone else go.
Shout out to Jeepers and
Facts. Remember, it was like, yes, and like that old gym. What was it, Gold's Gym with the basketball court?
Yeah. The middle movie theater.
Yeah, and that tiny little Greenbelt mall
that they revamped, but the one in the middle of the mall.
Yes.
Next to the Petco.
As if Greenbelt Mall needed two movie theaters. Like it was like 2 inches big.
Chris, did you want to go or did you want me to go?
I'll go because I know you want your time and you want to talk about this movie. It's your birthday, right? So you should go last. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go. Ready? Let the Right One In. I have so much I could say about this movie, but I'm going to keep it short. And I'm actually going to do something I've never done before. Sajak Itzak at Jansgela Filmer Med of the Textbook. Oak Dak Fraga Bafa Tortega Misaha. Tija Jafar Humran Ait Batala for Jack Saka Saga Mina Prabia Media Hard Filmer. In English, because I have no idea what is it about these movies that James, happy birthday, that James is like, I'm going to torture my people for this, right? Let my people go. And, you know, I like how C's tiptoeing down around some stuff. I'm not going to tiptoe around this stuff. I'm like, what the hell is going on? It was a castration scene. Like, little boy Blue decides he wants to take a peek. Shame on you. Your mom didn't teach you any manners. Little boy Blue decided he wanted to take a peek. And all of a sudden, you're like, hey, I get to see the goodie. Oh, I'm not sure that was the goodie I want to see. I don't understand what's going on in this movie. I don't get it. I know vampires sometimes, you know, kind of like toy the line of I'm gay, I'm bisexual. Well, you know, each their own. But you're 12 years old, right? You're 12 years old. You say, hey, invite me in. You come in, and then you try to come at him because you are laid in bed, right? You took your clothes off. You laid in bed. And now you feel the need to say, I'm not a girl. because he wants to go study. They're kissing. These people are 12. Come on, man. Come on. What is going on? This movie was weird. I didn't know what they were trying to do. You know, I was thinking, you know, James, the whole time I was watching this, where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going? Where are we going? Do we want to be a love movie? Do we want to be a horror movie? Do we want to be a grocery movie? Like, people's hands, people slicing each other's ears off, and they're whipping it. I mean, the whipping scene was like kind of, you know, a little sexual tension there too. I felt like they were looking at each other's eyes. Like, I could play some music. I could play some music there. It was a little weird. Come on, bro. It was a little weird when they were whipping it. Everybody, come on, you didn't hear the noise? You didn't hear the noise? Come on, right? Right? Then in the locker room, he's checking out his coach. It's starting to look like a Pornhub scene. And I'm like, and he's talking Spanish. I don't know what's going on. And then the big brother comes, and he's holding his head down. Then I see a head floating in the water, in the pool. And then the vampire who said, or Eli, what the hell, you know, she wants to call herself. You know, they all of a sudden, they're like, hey, I'm leaving after he kills a dude who broke into a house because he's so depressed because he lost his best friend. He lost his wife who was abusing, and cats, you know, just came out of nowhere and attacking everybody, and everybody's on drugs. I just don't get it. I don't get it. Said, I'm leaving. I got to go because I killed yet somebody else. And then he somehow he knows, hey, my boyfriend / lover / no, we talked about Twilight, James. Okay, that's all I'm saying. But my boyfriend / lover is being attacked, and I know he's being attacked, so I'm going to go kill everybody to save him. Hey, you want to kill somebody? I felt like I started to download the clip. I felt like I wanted somebody to kill me because I'm watching this. When he was the first time he met me, he was like, you know, hey, he's stabbing a tree or something like that. I was like, oh, please. Shout out to Cedar Superior. She's making it make sense to me. I think you hit the nail on the head. I think you're right. I think father who decided he wanted to burn himself because he's inadequate, you know, and he says, hey, I raised never mind. But so he has to be the previous child before. I you know, like it had him in the same connection, and you know, Eli wanted to trade him in for a newer model, and he sensed that.
At least a friend.
Otherwise, jealousy. So you are absolutely right on that. You are 100% right. So I want to give a shout out to the queen of recasting there. Not so much the recasting thing, that was crap. But I will give you a shout out. I will give you a shout out for that because that was very insightful. I appreciate that. Speaking of straight strawberry, Charmaine, she'll be on with us on Tuesday for Little Mermaid. She has to do it. You know, she gets to do it. So she'll be on with Little Mermaid. Also, I have a recasted and I'm done. I do have a recasted because I saw somebody. So when C was like, hey, we're doing recast, I was like, good. I'm glad. Because there's somebody in this movie you can't tell me did not look like somebody from a previous movie we did. So here is the character I want to recast. Is this boy here, right? This 12-year-old boy here. I guess I don't like kids. I don't know, right? And I said, this person is whiny. He's sometimes killing people. He's sometimes not killing people. He's a little emo. He looks like he wants to sleep with this person who might be a girl. He don't know what's going on at all. He's all bloody. He's all cut up. Hey, who is he? Boom, Kylo Ren. There you go, right? And that is consulting with the consultant.
I saw that. I saw that recast that coming. I had a feeling where you were going with that one. All right. So let me just say a few things. I'll start with this. Shout out to the cat man. That's what I call him in this movie. Who saw Jaka get killed and said, "I'm making zero noise because I can't believe what I'm seeing. It's crazy. I'm just gonna pet my kitty." That's the joke. And so insert the joke, right? Then when Virginia is getting swamped by raging kitties, insert second joke. He locks the balcony door as Virginia's only hope. Her perpetually drunk on and off again boyfriend is like, dude, why won't you open up the door? What's wrong with these cats? And Virginia's like, homie, get one of these cats off me. So forget about the door. And the cat man is just looking like perplexed, like, I have no idea what's going on. And the only thing he was worried about, as he says in the movie, is I don't want to testify or be investigated underneath that hot light in that little room. So salute to the cat man and let the right one in. Chrissy alluded to this, and yes, this is based off of a book. I'm going to go as close as I can because we will get flagged if I say literally everything that's going on. I will explain the relationship with Hakan. That's Ellie's father, quote unquote father in this movie. Yes, it's supposed to be. They don't exactly say per se, but it's supposed to be not necessarily that he was Oscar, but he was a boy that she met at some point and they grew up together. However, there are certain scenes in this movie that show that she, I'm gonna say she, and that's how she was portraying herself in the thing. But that when Hakan always wanted a sexual relationship with her, so it's not necessarily known that he was 12 years old. He was probably a little bit older, and so he always wanted a sexual relationship with her. Right. And so in the book, you have certain scenes. We talk. I think Chrissy mentioned when she caresses like his cheek or something like that. In the book, he asks for certain favors, right? And I'll describe it to you this way, akin to when she knocks on Oscar's window, and because she's covered in the snow and the blood, she does the thing with her clothes, right? So those are the things that Hakan asks for to as quote unquote payment, or for her to show her affection to him in the book, right? Obviously they couldn't do that in this movie, right? In the book, it's also explained that Ely is Elias and that they were castrated before they were turned. And if you ever seen True Blood and you know the backstory of Godric, how his maker was abusive in the different ways that one can be abusive, that's why they were turned. So that's why when she's in the room with Oscar and he says, "Do I have a chance with you?" They're saying it because in their mind, again, they are 12 years old. They just have the experience of a 12-year-old living for 200 years, right? They say, "Well, what do you mean by that? And what does that entail? Is that all that you want? Just that, you know, we're friends and everything and things won't change?" Because she knows that Hakan wanted other things that they didn't want to do because they never wanted it when they were made. So they're a victim of abuse. This movie is about abuse, as Chris alluded to. It opens up with Oscar fighting in some way against his abuse at the hands of the bullies, and him fighting back in the only way he could at that point because he didn't have a sense of power and control himself. And because that perpetual abuse, it turns the abused into the abuser at times. It has that potential. That's what another thing that this movie shows. One of the reasons why I picked this movie is because it's layered. Again, I like movies that show the human condition. I'm not saying that I have to agree with every human in said condition, but I like for it to be visible. That's one of the reasons why I like American Beauty, because again, I don't have to agree with every character in it. It just has to be realistically displayed on screen if it's about human beings. And that's what I appreciate that this movie does, along with some of the other ones that I picked, because those are the type of things, if you've noticed a pattern in my selection choices, that's what I try and bring to the thing. In this movie also, if you watch it again, and it's difficult because you have to watch it in subtitles unless you speak Swedish. Several times throughout this movie, Eli says, "I'm not who you think I am." Now, obviously, the first time you're watching this movie, you think, oh, they're alluding to the fact that they're a vampire. Well, they're alluding to that, yes, but more to the point, hey, I want to be upfront with you. I'm not a little girl, quote unquote. I'm a boy. That's how they identify themselves. They just dress up as a girl as a way for them to garner sympathy, the way they did when they attacked Jaka underneath the bridge. But they themselves identify themselves as a boy, and they say that several times in this movie. I think that's also important because it talks as we're in this Pride Month and everything like that. And forgive me if I don't say everything politically correct. I'm just trying to say it as I saw it in this movie. So understand the heart that I'm coming at when I say these things, right? But that's how they self-identify. And so several times they're saying to Eli up front, "This is who I am." But to Oscar rather. But Oscar, again, he doesn't have 200 years of experience. This is the first time he's experienced. He doesn't know what to ask or whatever. So several times they have to go over the same conversation over and over again. I appreciated that because it's also realistic, right? There's several character beats. Another character beat that, again, I had to look this up because I was unsure if it was the case. And the director is saying that that's not what he was alluding to. But the scene very much plays like that when Oscar's father and mother are divorced, and so sometimes Oscar goes to stay with his father. There's a scene when Oscar's father's friend comes over, right, and immediately Oscar's father, his whole demeanor changes. Now, we haven't seen any display of any kind of abuse, quote unquote, with him and his son, so I exclude that out. So it plays, at least to me, as if that's his father's friend. In the black community, they would say, oh, that's your uncle, you know what I mean? Or your aunt's friend, or your uncle's friend. Back in the day, that's how they would have said it. Today, they would have just said, this is my partner, or whatever like that. But this is 1981 in Sweden. And so that's how the scene played. And you see that Oscar is aware of something on a subconscious / conscious level, but he doesn't know what to call it. And that's a perfect mirror to what his relationship is with Eli, or Ellie, as they say in this movie, right? So again, I like that as well. So it's very different. It's very layered and everything like that. And also, to go back to my original point, I don't believe that Eli wanted Oscar to be their, I'll call it their familiar, right? Or their helper. Several times, not necessarily in the beginning, they're trying to push him away, but also they're saying they make the choice to leave. They come back because they realize, hey, these people are probably going to come back and do something to him because he did that. So it was on experience that they came back. And sure enough, they caught them in the act doing that. And that's why the only person who was not harmed was the little boy who had his hands in his covering his eyes like that. But everybody else who was involved in that plot, they were dealt with. And that's a repayment of him saving her life when he screamed and he says, don't do it. And she woke up when they in that E-Boogie and Vic talked about when she's asleep in the bathroom in the apartment and everything like that. Because as she says, I have enough money that I could buy a whole factory. I don't need you to do anything, and I could actually hunt. Hakan stayed on, as I said, and it goes more into it in the book. But you see, because he was in love with her as opposed to loved her in a platonic sense, and so he wanted that. That's why he had that jealousy. I don't want you to see that boy anymore. It wasn't that because it would bring too much attention. It was because then your focus won't be on me. You'll be a little kid anymore. Again, and you won't be with me. His was predatory and hers was not like that, right? And so that's why she had to reiterate to Eli, to Oscar, what do you want? What are you asking of me? Let's be very, very clear and realize that I can't be what you may in your mind have me to be or want me to be. That's not who I am and that's not who I can be. And they said that several times and they are upfront. And again, as far as the conversation that we have in our modern world, as Chrissy alluded to earlier, I like that this movie in 2008 had those conversations and the book did, right? I think she said it came out in what, 2004, something like that?
Yeah.
In 2004, that they're having those conversations because, again, a lot of times in Hollywood or in cinema, they're afraid to go to where real people live. As I said, oftentimes in movies, when people wake up, they wake up and their breath is fresh and there's no crust in their eyes. That's not realistic. That's not realistic. People are running through the whole movie and nobody says, damn, you really ripe. You really strong right now. Nobody ever says that. But in real life, you know, if you go outside in the summer heat, people like you smell like outside. That's a black thing. But, you know, they say, you smell like outside. You smell like where you've been, right? You smell like the sun. So I like that this movie isn't afraid to go to those different places. E-Boogie, you talked about it. The transformation scenes, the lore, the fact that you have to be invited in. These are pure, as I said, again, with the witch, old school, I don't want to call them tropes, but old school rules with vampires. We see this slightly with Interview with the Vampire, right? And there's a scene in Interview with the Vampire where Lestat says to Louis, are you stupid? You're hunting these people. You know what I mean? Do you know how fortunate it is that we live in this house when so many of us, have to live outside or in the sewers or whatever like that? And that's what ends up happening with Louis, feeding off of rats and everything like that. And this movie shows that they have to live so undercover lives, so to speak, so that nobody knows. Hakan is going miles away, like 7 miles away, to hunt people, and he hunts them for a little bit of time, and then they move. They're always nomadic, right? And I like that this movie showed the real world working of a vampire. And another thing that's just a touch reality, and it's so almost imperceptible, because I love the whole Virginia sequence when she realized what was happening and everything like that. And it ties in what I'm about to say, and that's my close for it. You know, in their world, vampires were a thing, right? Oscar knew what a vampire was, but for him, it was fiction, right? The same way as for us. And if we were to go outside our building, I heard somebody explain it this way, right? Our building, our house, wherever, and we saw somebody who looked like they were exsanguinated, right? And they had 2 small holes in their neck. The first thought in our mind would be vampire. Of course, we would think that's crazy because there's no such thing as vampire. But because of all the things that we've read and the movies we've seen, that's where our mind would go at first, right? Virginia, when she wakes up, right after she's been attacked and she knew somebody was biting her, at first she thought it was just some nut, right? She didn't think anything of it. And then when the sun hit her and the direct sunlight hit her, it burned her. She remembered that. Then she goes in the bathroom and she pulls it off and she sees the puncture marks. And then she's attracted to the smell and the taste of the blood, which disgusts her. I like the fact, and I've said it several times again, a lot of times they don't make women smart in these movies. They depict them as dumb. Why? Because it's easy. Hollywood is not a hard-working place. Oftentimes people are very lazy. They recycle the same things over and over and over again. And so women are depicted as lazy because historically they've always been depicted, not lazy, as stupid, because they've always historically been depicted as stupid. It's rare to find a woman who's working things out in movies. That's why Ripley was so iconic in 1979, even though the motion picture had been around for 50 something years. So that's why I go to that all the time, because it's rare to see a woman displayed with common sense in movies. It is, right? There's certain tropes that Hollywood has, right? So Virginia worked all these things out. That's why when she woke up in the bed and she could feel herself dying of hunger because she knew she couldn't eat any other food, right? But she wanted blood. And she says, I'm not willing to go to that place. I don't want to know what that's like to live that way and everything. And I refuse it. And she took her own fate into her own hands. And she masterfully played that scene. And she says, hey, could you do me a favor? Could you open up those blinds for me? Because she knew very well that she would be immolated, right? I like that so much because it shows that she's working. Out of that whole group of those men and those construction guys or whatever they're supposed to be in the factories or whatever like that, she's the only one that was smart. Did you notice that? She's the one that figured it out. Number one, her boyfriend, on and again, off, boyfriend was so busy, he was so drunk through the whole movie that he couldn't figure out anything. She was the only one who worked it out and who had the temerity to actually go through it once she realized what was happening. Eli was not some victim of Hakan, right? They were actually the most powerful person, obviously, in this film, both literally and figuratively. So again, I like that display. I like the fact that they showed that she could fly and everything like that, that she had these skills, that she knew what to do when she went into the hospital, but yet there was always just something a little bit off, as you would expect of somebody who's not quite right. Right? So there are different nuggets in this movie that, again, when you watch it again, when you sit down and you watch it and you're used to movies with subtitles, that you pick these up. You know what I mean? The movie is shot beautifully, but it's the character beats and the small little nuggets of truth that they put throughout that I love this movie so much. And that's why I picked this one along with The Witch, as I said, because there's so many different similarities and they're so true to the essence of horror in their different genres, different veins, one being witchcraft, one being vampirism. But again, they express the fuller picture, in my opinion, of human beings in all their many different facets. It's not the virtuous white hat versus the black hat. That's not humanity. We live in gray. And I like in this movie that everybody lived in gray. And especially the depiction of the bullies and the pseudo-sexual, if you will, budding pseudo-sexual, and you could say actual sexual for the older brother who knew full well what he was doing. Right? And we see that it's the power and the dominance when you have violations of people. It's not about the literal sexual act, but it's the dominance, it's the power. And oftentimes, if you study that, that's what people talk about, that they had power over them, and that's what they craved, and that's what they wanted more of. And this movie shows that, and it's not afraid to show that. And just one other scene that I thought was beautiful because it was so well done, but it was also horrific. The scene when Hakan goes to the gym and he's watching them. Number one, that was the creepiest scene when he's just standing outside and then playing basketball. I didn't know if it was, I'm not going to go there, but Pennsylvania, you know what I'm saying, right? At that university, right? But he was just staring at them. That's creepier than any Michael Myers or Jason scene because he was like I want you now. That's the look in his eyes, right? And it cuts to him having one of the kids strung upside down, and he had gassed him, and he's literally going to cut his throat. And I'm thinking to myself, if I was in that situation, and by the grace of God, my friends are knocking on the window because they didn't leave. They're like, "Hey, where is he?" And I'm startled awake, and I wake up, and the guy is still there, and I'm watching him, and all you can do is scream and hope he doesn't slit your throat. And that moment, if you look at Hakan, the actor who plays it so well, because he wants to run because he's scared, and he looks at the window and realizes that the guy is watching him and the friend outside, and there's the friend at the door. All he can do is take the little bit of acid that's left and disfigure himself as one last loyalty act to Ellie, and disfigure himself. And in a macabre way, that's his display of love. You know what I mean? Because even evil people, they think what they're doing is love. And even though he was doing those horrendous acts, it's true to life as well, that he would do that as an offering to her. And so I appreciated that they had the time to show that. And in the book, it goes even further that I can't even tell you on air, read the book. But when I tell you it went far, far beyond, and this movie, if you thought this movie was out there, it's nothing compared to it. So that's what I'll have to say.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick commercial break, find out what we're reviewing next week as we begin a new month and a new franchise. Stay with us. You're watching Unpopular Review.
Wandering free, wish I could be part of you. Isn't it fantastic?
The Little Mermaid.
I wouldn't miss it.
This is Hamilton.
All right, and we are back here. Unpopular Review. We're talking about Let the Right One In. Next Tuesday, we begin our Disney Renaissance franchise picks, which is going to be on Tuesdays. Every Tuesday, we're going to start off with The Little Mermaid. And then on Thursday, we are actually going to do Hamilton. I actually forgot to upload that one. But we're going to do Hamilton. Look forward to that one. If you are currently subscribed to our YouTube channel at UPRE on YouTube, you can watch a recently released episode called Loki as they review the Loki series. Now, ladies and gentlemen, there's one last thing that I want to play for you all, and that is this special clip.
We don't have time, ladies and gentlemen. Time. Let's go.
All right. I'll go first. I got a few.
Let's go.
Okay, go ahead, babe.
Let's see.
Somebody played it petty.
No, it's not petty. Every comment is about time. Now all of a sudden we got time to go back in the previous episodes. We got time to make
quotable.
I'm talking about the movie and how much I enjoyed. Everybody wants me to rush. Ladies and gentlemen, you're seeing it behind the scenes. This is something you don't get on another show. Right? I don't get that. This is a movie podcast. I'm enjoying the movie. I'm talking about the movie. Y'all complaining like y'all got a bedtime, like y'all Betty White. What's going on? Yeah. Either we're talking about the movies we love or not, right? I apologize for cutting into your time, no pun intended. Your quotes, please.
Okay. Now the whole world's gonna know that you died scratching my balls.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was another blast of the past. We played James's best clips here. I purposely left out the one from Poltergeist, though. Anyway, let's go ahead and get to final thoughts. The first person.
Where is that, Chris? Are you serious?
I'm dead serious. I left that out. I'm so sick of seeing that Poltergeist. Puppy Blood Love. If you could give your final thoughts, please. I'm glad we played that clip.
Well,
it was perfect for this episode.
If I could, I would like to go first because unfortunately I have to walk my dog.
Yeah, go ahead. My hotel is flooding. I got to leave too. So go ahead.
So, final thoughts about this movie. There are a couple things. First off, all I had to say, after he moves to Scotland with his parents, only child Tony struggles to make friends at his new school. But he is bullied and picked on by the other boys. And as a little hope of overcoming his miserable new life. Then he meets Rudolph, a kid vampire with whom Tony becomes very close. This is the synopsis of 2000's movie. It came out in the year 2000. The Little Vampire. Speaking of recycling, Hollywood recycling tropes and different ideas, this movie is clearly a recycling of that movie. I feel like the author saw The Little Vampire, said, hey, I like this. Let's make it a little dark. Let's add a couple of dark aspects into it, make it a little more, creepy and adult themed. But I'll leave it with this. I'll say this. There was an interview with a vampire, The Little Vampire, the movie I just referenced. Twilight, even though Edward didn't get the benefit of the doubt of being a 17-year-old his whole life, like Ellie did. And Let the Right One In. I'll give it a thumbs up. I'm a sucker for vampire movies. I love vampire movies. I don't know why.
Are you serious?
I enjoy vampire movies. And I actually enjoyed this movie before, even though it was really long. Huh?
That's because I gave you a good promo.
Yes.
Wow.
But no, I enjoyed the movie. It was creepy. It was, I wouldn't really call it scary, but it was very dark. And it had a realness to it and a simplicity in the way it was filmed that I enjoyed. Even though they could have cut off a little bit of it, I think it went on a little long, but I still enjoyed the movie overall.
Well, Krista, can I just say real quick? I wanted to say that my next pick is not going to be a horror movie, but then I realized the next movie that I did want to do is a horror movie. But then I remember I promised Charmaine that I would pick a movie that she wanted to do about Latin America. And I have a perfect movie. I'm not going to tip my hand to it. But Charmaine, I promise you, when I can do my next pick, I got you. You asked for it and I got you. And that one is not a horror movie.
Nice. Thank you, Charmaine.
It is for Trump. It is for Donald Trump. But in the general sense, it's not a horror picture. But who would like to go next? Final thoughts.
Puppy Blood.
I was entertained. Thumbs up.
I forgot you gave your non-verbal thumbs up. Okay. I'm going to give this no, I'm just kidding. No, I thought it was really good. This was a second watch for me. I saw it some years ago. And upon the second watch, I picked up a lot more weird stuff than the first time. It does require more than one watch, but I would not choose to watch this again. That being said, as a first watch, if you end up spending money to watch it, it'll be money well spent. So thumbs up from me.
Well, thank you. Chris, I'm sure you'll destroy my streak. So I picked this movie because I actually heard a review by Rita Moreno, ironically. And she said, this is her quote, that this is the most diverse film I've ever seen in years. Now, that's a joke for a quote that Rita Moreno said about another movie, that if you got the joke, you got the joke. Anyway, I saw this movie because it looked phenomenal. I saw it before they made that trash remake, that they butchered everything that's in that book. Anyway, this movie's a thumbs up. Look at the smile. That tells you where he's going.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, I want to give a shout out once again to Cedar Superior. She actually brought something else to my attention when she read the synopsis of A Little Vampire. It sounded exactly like this movie. So I do have to give her credit for that one. So next time, Queen of Recast It, if you want to do a recast it, you should recast this whole movie from Let the Right One In to Little Vampire. You know what I would say? Little Vampire gets a thumbs down, and so does Let the Right One In for me. I did not enjoy this movie at all. I mean, I'm glad y'all did. And I mean, I'm not saying there wasn't any good parts to it. There was definitely good parts. It wasn't the worst thing I've ever seen, Casper. It was not the worst thing I've ever seen, Tactical Force. It was not the worst thing I've ever seen, New Mutants. But it was better than Witch, too. But
you liked it better than Witch?
But I was not entertained at all. I kept looking at it, and it was not giving me the feel of what's going to happen or anything like that. It was giving me I'm creeped out, but not because of a horror flick. I'm creeped out because I'm looking at a little boy girl flirt with a little boy girl and don't know if he wants to kill or possibly kill. And then there's an old man who's a little creepy, and there's drunks and there's cats. And I'm like, oh. So for that, I give it a thumbs down. Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Unpopular Reviews. That was Let the Right One In. Please make sure you join us next Tuesday for The Little Mermaid. Please like, love, and share this. Subscribe on YouTube to UPRE. We actually do that. If you leave a comment in our YouTube box and section, we will review that particular movie. So yes,
and Charmaine actually did that.
Correct.
And that's why she's getting her pick.
Correct. And Mr. Higgins, if you want to do that, you know what to do. Ladies and gentlemen, I leave you with this. This movie in James's birthday week is officially over. On to the next one. And this clip. Have a very good night here at Unpopular Review. Good night, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, yeah, for James, Puppy Blood Love, E-Boogie, See Us Appear. I'm the executive consultant because I forgot to say bye to everybody. Chrissy had to leave. She had to walk her dog or something, right? Right? She had to walk her dog, and I got to leave because my hotel's flooding and, whatever. Good night.
My first quote is from Charmaine. Ron, I love your sweater. Hi, Chrissy, Vic, and Chris. Charmaine, I don't know what's going on, but I think you just want my attention at this point. And here, I'm going to give it to you, much as the joke is. My name is James. Now, either you hate me or not, in which case I don't care. I'll probably never meet you in real life, but I just wanted to highlight you and give you the attention that you so dearly crave. Clearly, because in every show it's either hi Chrissy or hi whoever else. And I extend my name to you, Charmaine. My name is James. I'm the one who, well, anyway, I won't give you behind the scenes, but I was in your corner. So we'll see if you're in mine. My name is James. But let me salute your quote. Ron, I love your sweater. Chrissy, you're in the comment. Vic, you're there. And Chris, you're there as well. I'm nowhere. Thank you. Thank you. That's all I have.